Good morning and welcome to this edition of Monday Morning Mobility. I'm Jeff Blanchard and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how I can help you from a physical therapist perspective. It's my passion to help people improve their quality of life by helping them decrease pain and increasing their ability for movement and activity. So today's topic is, how do I find time to exercise? So this is a common topic. It's, I'd say, I don't know, it's kind of 50-50. Maybe 50% of the patients that I see are really motivated to get their exercises in, and they're doing a pretty good job getting those exercises in. The other 50% are individuals who maybe exercise hasn't been a part of their life. Maybe things are just super busy in life, and so there's no time to exercise. So it's helpful to sit down and talk about, okay, how do we work on getting exercise in? So there's a few different strategies. So one strategy is we need to have the right expectation as far as how often to do exercise. Now there are some things that it's best if we try to do them every day and just to try to get a little bit of time every day to practice. So it might be learning a new movement strategy. So for example, a number of episodes back, we talked about the hip hinge. Okay, so hip hinging is a new movement strategy for many people. It's a strategy in how to move. And so what that is it's training the brain to move in a different way. It's not really strengthening and building muscle. We're training nerves. We're teaching teaching the brain to create new nerve connections. The more often you can get those in, the faster you're going to get things down, the faster you're going to learn, and the faster you're going to probably get less painful. So it's those kinds of exercises I'll typically ask people to try to practice on a daily basis. But that type of exercise, you can pretty much do anywhere. So it's a little bit more convenient to, while you're waiting for your food to warm up in the microwave, do a few hip hinges to get a couple in, just to practice your movement pattern. So then let's talk about, say, after surgery. After surgery, it's very important that, again, we're trying to get those nerves firing, we're trying to get muscles to wake up, and it's more important that we're getting those exercises in on a daily basis. And oftentimes we're asking people to do more than once a day. So after surgery, typically people are going to take a little time off work, so usually there's a little bit more time to work with, so that's helpful. For just doing strengthening, then strengthening is something that we can do sometimes every other day. So it's important to have that discussion with your physical therapist. Do I need to do these exercises every day, or can I do them every other day? So let's kind of try to talk about that. There's also how many exercises we're given. Do you have 3 exercises or do you have 15? That's another thing to talk to with your physical therapist about, because too many exercises can just feel really heavy, and when it's too many, it's too many. So oftentimes what we'll do is we'll take an exercise if I've got 15 exercises on there, hopefully we're dividing them up and we're having you do a few on one day and a few on another day. And that seems to work out really pretty well. Again, unless you're after surgery, then you might say do half of them in the morning and half of them later in the afternoon. So these are all different strategies that you can use to speak with your physical therapist. So then there's just the notion of it's important to get exercise in, and maybe that's not something that you've done on a regular basis. So there's a term that I recently learned that I like, and that term is the compound effect. So the compound effect is basically you reap what you sow on a daily basis. So we all see this. Let's talk about weight. So if you're somebody who, let's say, every day you eat, it could be cookies or potato chips, or basically it's more junk food or a lot of carbs, and you don't do a lot of activity, you can typically see where that's going to lead. It's going to lead to increased weight gain. So that's an example of a compound effect, something that one has done a little bit every day, to the point in time where then eventually in 1 year, 5 years, you have an actual effect of what you've done day after day. Let's take somebody who eats very healthy. That typically will compound in somebody who can move better, feel better, do a lot more. So that's just one example. So exercise is another example. There's quite often I'll have individuals come in that say they don't like to exercise. They just don't because they've never really done it, so they don't really like it. And I try to help people to understand that not liking to exercise is a choice, and it's a choice that we make oftentimes when we're younger, and usually it's a subconscious choice we make. We maybe try some things and we don't really like how we feel, or maybe we have a bad experience and we get sore, and so we choose, you know what, I don't really like that, I'm just gonna not do it. And so then we create thoughts in our mind, and those thoughts are, I don't really like exercise. And then as we age and we get older, we continue to think that way, and until eventually it's a belief. And a belief is something that we all take as fact. And yet actually it's not. So when someone tells me they don't like to exercise, I understand that that is a belief that has been created over years of thoughts. So we try to talk about, okay, do you like that belief? Do you want to keep that belief? Is that belief serving you? Or are you okay with changing that belief? And if so, then let's talk about other thoughts. What might you think to come up with a different feeling of how you feel about exercise? And maybe the first place you start is, I know that exercise is good for me, and I want to feel good by these exercises, or I want to feel strong, or I want something, and I know exercise will get me there. So if you tell yourself that every day, then that will slowly start to change your belief structure until eventually you actually start to like exercise. So the goal is eventually you can tell yourself in your mind, I like to exercise. I think that if you can change that belief, you will actually find that there's more time in your day to exercise. There's plenty of examples of people who work long hours, 40, 50, even 60 hours a week, and they still find the time to exercise. It's all a matter really of motivation and what you ultimately want and what your goal is. So if your goal is to feel better and to move better and to, say, work on something that's painful and you know exercise will get you there, then I think it's a great place to start to change your thoughts, to work on your thought pattern, to be able to then try to start getting those exercises in. And then you find a time and you carve out a time, and maybe you start with 15 minutes and you schedule it and you say, okay, every day at this time, I'm going to schedule 15 minutes for me to get my exercises in. And then you use positive thoughts about what that exercise is going to do for you. And I tell you that if you do it that way and you think positively about that and you start getting those exercises in, you will actually start to see the benefit. And then that compound effect will work for you in the long run, and you'll actually start to see the change. All right, so thank you again for joining me for this Monday Morning Mobility. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or leave me a review. If you have a topic that you'd like to have me talk about, please let me know. So until next time, choose movement over being sedentary, because motion is lotion.